Rami Khouri is a senior public policy fellow at the American University of Beirut, and he joins us from there to talk more about this. Good to speak with you again, Rami. So your thoughts then on these new developments, and is this perhaps a recognition from the Saudi-led bloc that these demands were unrealistic?
I think the fact that the Americans, at the level of the president, phoning the leaders of the three countries directly at the last moment is probably a pretty strong indication that the focus of mediation and diplomatic moves is shifting now a little bit from Kuwait by itself to the American involvement. And the American involvement has always been, from the very beginning, relatively balanced, showing that there's some support for the Saudi Emirati demands, but also saying that this has to be resolved diplomatically, and some of the demands are totally unrealistic. So I think the GCC countries that have initiated this move against Qatar are probably more aware now than they were a month ago that their plan was quite unrealistic, not very well thought out, and unlikely to succeed in its initial form. So now the question is, how do they negotiate in a face-saving way that can perhaps achieve some of the gains that they want from Qatar, toning down some of the media stuff, lowering ties with some of the Islamist groups like Hamas. Some of those things can be negotiated without any serious problems, but also without making any significant change in Qatar's sovereign ability to shape its own foreign policy. We're at that stage now where this is probably going to happen in the next couple of weeks.
But what confidence is there from the Gulf nations, including Qatar, of the U.S. role in all of this, and whether they are speaking in one voice at this point? Because as we've been saying before, you hear one thing from the president and something else from the Secretary of State and the Defense Secretary.
Well, unfortunately for the Americans, I don't think anybody in the entire Middle East has any confidence in any kind of clear American policy, whether it's Palestine, Israel, Turkey, Syria, terrorism. The Americans are all over the place. They're quite baffled by a lot of the things going on in the region, and they tend to resort to military force or threats. Those approaches haven't worked very well, but this is different. The Americans now realize that a major confrontation between Qatar and the GCC, or a breakup of the GCC, or structural tensions in the region with trade embargoes, travel restrictions, forcing companies to choose do business with Qatar or do business with the GCC, that creates enormous problems for the United States at the strategic level because of its military basis, at the level of fighting terrorism, at the trade promotion level, and in every arena of life. So the United States now, more than before, feels the pain of what the Saudis and the Emiratis have launched, and therefore feels a great self-interest in trying to mediate this conflict. So that's the difference, and it's very significant.
Good to speak with you, as always. Rami Khouri in Beirut. Thank you.